There are 10,000 ways to die in the 41st millennium, but only one way to truly vanish, to be erased from record, unremembered by the Imperium, lost to the silence between stars. The void forgets swiftly. Names, vessels, entire fleets, gone as if they never were. And sometimes, when the void forgets something, it hungers to replace it. This is the story of one such hunger. The patrol frigate Gloria Tenebris drifted along the fringes of Segmentum Ultima, its hull scarred from decades of warp travel. It was a ship of survivors, crewed by the stoic, sleep-deprived men and women of the Imperial Navy. Voidfarers who had seen things no human should, yet pressed on because that was duty, and duty was the only light left in the darkness. I am Lieutenant Varro Hestian, Vox Officer of the Gloria Tenebris, and this report, if it ever reaches the light of the Astronomicon, is a confession. We were not prepared for what we found beyond the Varus corridor. Emperor, forgive us, none of us were. If you crave more tales of the dark millennium, I whisper now to the listeners who endure this tale, stay your course. The Emperor protects those who hold fast to duty. We first detected it on the third rotation past the warp gate. Faint signals, intermittent, distorted vox chatter from an Imperial designation long declared lost, Magellan's Spear, a transport vessel supposedly destroyed 5 years prior during a Tyranid incursion. But this signal was clean, too clean. It came from within the dead zone, where astropathic communications failed and warp echoes distorted all sanity. Ghost Vox, the helmsman muttered, tracing the faint blip on the Auspex screen. The officers on the command bridge laughed nervously, but Captain Luthien didn't. He stood at the center of the bridge, his gaunt face lit by the pale glow of hololith projections. He ordered, "Plot a course. If there's even a chance of survivors, we answer it. That's the Emperor's will." We all obeyed. None dared speak against it. Hours passed as we descended into that sector, a place marked by navigators as cursed, where the stars shimmered with unnatural distortion. The warp currents bled faintly into real space, causing interference across every instrument. The ship groaned under the unseen pressure. Even the hull prayers, freshly intoned by the enginseer priesthood, could not silence the growing sense of unease. Then the Auspex operator gasped. "Contact! Bearing 37 by 15. Range decreasing. No drive signature. Dead drift." Through the forward viewport we saw it, a massive silhouette adrift against the dying starlight, a transport-class ship cracked open like a carcass. Its hull bore the faded insignia of Magellan's Spear. We hailed it again and again, silence. Only when we switched to broad-spectrum Vox did a reply emerge, faint, static-racked, but indisputably human. "Help! It hunts. Wings in the dark." The captain stiffened. "Lock tractor beams. Prepare boarding detail." I felt the breath leave my lungs. Everyone on the bridge heard it. That single word, wings. The Mechanicus adepts activated the lumens of the docking bay as our boarding shuttle detached. I was assigned to the team alongside 7 armsmen and a priest of the ecclesiastiki. As we approached the derelict, the light from our shuttle carved across torn metal and drifting debris, frozen bodies, shattered consoles, and faint scorch marks. The moment we breached, the airlock sealed behind us with a hiss that echoed like a death knell. The interior of the Magellan Spear was dark, littered with remains. We moved through the corridors, las guns raised, lumens flickering against long streaks of dried blood. The ship had power once. The faint hum of a dying reactor still pulsed through the deck plates. And somewhere ahead, in the Vox-distorted shadows, we heard something moving. "Identify yourself," the sergeant barked. His voice came back to us, distorted, like an echo played backward. Then we saw her. A lone figure sat amid the wreckage of a Vox station, draped in a torn flight suit. Her skin was pallid, her eyes wide with trauma. She looked up as we approached, trembling. "You shouldn't have come. It doesn't die. It remembers." The priest moved forward, offering the sign of the aquila. "Child, what hunts you?" Her gaze turned toward the ceiling. "The Raptor." A noise answered her, a metallic scrape somewhere above the deck. Our lumens swung upward. A shape detached from the darkness, silent, massive, wrong. For an instant the light caught it, tollard limbs, shredded ceramic, and a face half hidden behind a broken helm marked with the faded insignia of the Raven Guard. Then it was gone, scuttling into the vents like a nightmare returning to its nest. We fired blindly, las bolts lighting the corridor, but nothing hit. Only the echoes answered us. Captain Luthien's voice came over Vox. "Report, boarding team. What is your status?" I stared into the void of that derelict and whispered the truth. "Sir, I think it's one of ours." The survivor screamed then, not words, but pure terror, and something lifted her away into the ducts above. Her cry ended with a wet, final sound, and then silence. In that silence, I understood what it meant to be hunted. The airlock sealed behind us, trapping the cold and the silence together. The survivor's last scream still echoed through the Magellan Spear like a curse. For a moment, no one moved. Not the sergeant, not the priest, not even me. Every lumen beam shook slightly in the void-born hands that held them. "Form perimeter," the sergeant growled. "No one wanders off, eyes sharp." His voice trembled, though he'd faced pirates and gene-stealer raids before. Whatever we'd seen, that taloned shape that had torn the woman away, it wasn't something that belonged in this galaxy anymore. We began our search for the bridge. The priest muttered litanies of protection as we passed through corridors filled with signs of slaughter. Armor plating scored by claws that could rend plasteel. Blood trails that led into ventilation shafts. Vox units torn apart as though someone or something had silenced every voice aboard. The deeper we moved, the more the spear's design changed. Bulkheads warped, metal twisted as if it had grown. The ship wasn't merely damaged, it was infected. The tech priest accompanying us, Magos Viral, stopped at a junction and knelt to inspect a corroded panel. His macandendrites clicked. This metal structure, not natural corrosion. Molecular shift, as though flesh memory has merged with machine. Speak plain, Cog. His voice turned almost reverent. This vessel dreams. It has tasted the warp. The priest spat a prayer of disgust. Blasphemy! The Omnisia weeps for this heresy. We didn't linger. Every few minutes, the vox crackled with faint static, sometimes whispering our names, sometimes replaying the survivor's scream. The ship spoke to us in fragments, as if mocking us with memories. Then we found the first log. The cogitator room was partially intact. I managed to power one terminal with a portable generator. The data was corrupted, hundreds of files overwritten with gibberish, but one recording remained, time-stamped 5 years ago, the final entry of Captain Dallin Marr of the Magellan Spear. Time-stamped 2406. Containment failed. Sergeant Arcturus ordered sealed in lower decks. Mutation spread faster than projected. He's changing. Bones sprouting wings, metal fusing to flesh. Emperor, forgive us. We tried to end it, but he wouldn't die. It called itself the Raptor before it tore through. The file ended with static and a shriek that didn't sound human. The priest crossed himself, whispering a psalm of cleansing flame. Magos Viral simply muttered, Designation Arcturus, recorded in Mechanicus archives as Raven Guard Sergeant, MIA during Tyrannid action on Varus 9. So it was one of ours, or had been. That changed everything. The captain recalled us to the Gloria Tenebris immediately. We sealed the derelict behind us and broke docking contact. But something was wrong. As we pulled away, the spear's corpse lights flickered, not randomly, but in sequence, like the pattern of beating wings. By the time we reached the bridge, I realized I was still hearing them. That rhythm, that pulse, not through the vox, through the hull itself. Report, Captain Luthien demanded. What did you see? The sergeant answered mechanically. Single hostile confirmed, possibly Astartes' origin. Mutated. It killed the survivor before extraction. Recommend destruction of derelict by lancefire. The captain hesitated. Astartes' gene form, you said? Raven Guard? Yes, sir. He didn't give the order to fire. Not right away. Perhaps it was faith, or curiosity, or pride. Whatever it was, that hesitation doomed us all. The lights dimmed, the auspex wailed. Boarding alert, shouted the helmsman. Unknown life form detected in aft hangar. Impossible. We had sealed the locks, vented the approach tunnels, but the readouts didn't lie. Something was inside. We armed ourselves, every man and woman aboard. Bulkhead teams sealed corridors. The priest began anointing the doors with sacred oils, and the magos activated defensive servitors. I monitored the internal sensors. The thing moved faster than any sensor could follow. Each time I blinked, the blip jumped closer, like it wasn't running through the corridors, but between them. Then the vox came alive again, a voice, deep, distorted. Brothers left me in the dark. It came from within our own decks. The priest shouted for all to hold firm. The sergeant swore under his breath. I just watched the auspex as it flickered and died. Then came the screams from the lower decks. We arrived too late. The hangar was a carnal house, guardsmen torn apart, weapons shredded, one servitor still twitching as if trying to reload its gun with severed fingers. And above it all, clinging to the ceiling, was a shadow, shaped like a man, but wrong in every way. Wings folded close, eyes glowing faintly red. It looked at us and spoke. Do you hear the silence, brothers? Before we could fire, it vanished, a blur of black and silver crashing through bulkheads like smoke given form. Captain Luthien finally gave the order. Arm the ship, prepare message to Segmentum Command. This is no ordinary Xenos. No one dared argue, but the truth clawed at my mind. This wasn't Xenos. It was us. Something imperial, something sacred had rotted into that thing. The Raptor had come home. Still with us in the darkness? Hit that like button if this tale chills your soul, and brace yourself. The hunt begins next. The Raptor had entered our ship. Captain Luthien did not waste time mourning the dead in the hangar. Grief came later, if ever. Lock down every section below Deck 12, he ordered. Void every compartment it moves through. I don't care if it takes half the crew. Nothing leaves this hull alive. The order was carried out with grim precision. Valves shrieked, blast doors sealed, and the soft hum of life support systems shifted as vents rerouted air. The Gloria Tenebris became a trap. I stayed on the bridge, monitoring the Vox. No one spoke above a whisper. The Magos chanted Binharic prayers, trying to stabilize power as systems failed one by one. Something was draining the ship's energy, feeding from it like a parasite drinking from arteries. Hours passed. Then the impossible happened. A new transmission cut through the static. It wasn't human. It was a coded pulse, the Astartes emergency cipher, recognized by every Imperial system. Origin, the captain demanded. I ran the analysis 3 times. Coming from orbit, sir. Drop pod signature. Astartes vessel inbound. A minute later, the Auspex confirmed it. A strike cruiser, bearing the sigil of the Raven Guard, translation complete from the warp. The Emperor himself must have intervened, or so I wanted to believe. The captain hailed them immediately. This is Captain Luthien of the Gloria Tenebris. We are under attack by an unidentified hostile, possibly Astartes in origin. Request immediate support. The reply came as a whisper, smooth and precise. Acknowledged, Gloria Tenebris. This is strike cruiser Umbra Vindicta. Stand by. We are dispatching a kill team." Aboard that kill team was Sergeant Corvin, a veteran of the Deliverance campaigns. I had read about him once. Disciplined, methodical, utterly without fear. His squad boarded our ship within the hour, 5 black-armored Astartes moving like living statues through the smoke and ruin of our decks. When they arrived on the bridge, the air changed. Mortals like us always felt small in their presence. How could we not? Their armor bore the marks of centuries. Their purity seals fluttered with sacred script, and every motion was deliberate, efficient. Captain Luthien briefed them in clipped tones. Corvin's helm remained fixed on the tactical display, but when I showed him the corrupted footage from the Magellan spear, he leaned closer. "That armor," he said quietly, "Mark 6 pattern, early Crusade-era issue." "That's impossible," Luthien muttered. Corvin turned his helm toward him. "Not impossible, just forgotten." They moved out quickly, their steps shaking the deck as they made for the lower levels. Each carried specialist gear, auspex scanners, flamer units, grav beacons. They knew what they were hunting, and I knew enough to stay out of their way. Still, through the ship's internal vox, I could hear everything. The distant thud of bolters, the muffled roar of flamers igniting the dark, the short-clipped reports of warriors trained to kill gods. "Movement, Corridor 7. Flamer 2, purge that junction. Contact, it's fast, Emperor preserve." The feed crackled with static. For a heartbeat, all was silent. Then a voice returned. Not Corvin's. "It's watching us." Through the picked feeds I caught glimpses, blurred shapes flitting in and out of view. A taloned shadow flitting from wall to wall, sometimes upside down, sometimes crawling across ceilings. The Raptor was toying with them. Then came the first clear image. The thing dropped into view behind one of the Astartes, a hulking mass of black armor, streaked with silver, wings of shredded ceramitite and bone stretching from its back. It struck faster than a gun could fire, driving its claws through the marine's chestplate. The warrior's vox screamed with pain before cutting out entirely. Corvin's squad reacted instantly. Bolters roared, blessed promethium burned, and the corridor filled with smoke and ozone. When the fire cleared, only molten metal and the marine's broken helm remained. The Raptor was gone again. "Report!" Luthien demanded through the comms. Corvin's reply was grim. "We have confirmed contact. It is Astartes, or was. It bears Raven Guard heraldry and displays advanced stealth capabilities. Permission to initiate full containment." "Granted," the captain said. "Purge the lower decks." The kill team split, planting grav mines and sealing bulkheads as they advanced. Corvin moved like a phantom, his helm's auspex painting the world in motion traces. Every corner could have held death. Every echo might have been wings. When they reached the central reactor, they found the evidence of the creature's purpose. Sigils burned on the walls, not chaos runes, but something older, something wrong. The letters twisted even to look upon too long. The Magos identified one glyph before his auspex failed. Return. That was when the Raptor struck again. From the void of the reactor shaft it came, screaming in a voice that was part machine, part agony. Its wings spread, casting shadows like storm clouds. It slammed into Corvin's squad, ripping one Marine apart and throwing another into the plasma generator's coils. Corvin countered with a strike of pure discipline, chain sword revving, teeth screaming. He severed one of the raptor's wings in a fountain of black ichor. The thing howled, and for a brief instant its helm broke open. Beneath the shattered visor was the pale, ruined face of a man, Astartes features, Ravengard gene markings, eyes burning with warp fire. "Brother," it hissed, "you left me." Corvin froze. Recognition flickered behind his visor. "Arcturus?" he asked. "Once." The raptor smiled. Its teeth were metallic. Then he detonated the plasma vent. The explosion rocked the Gloria Tenebris. Systems across the ship went dark, alarms screaming as bulkheads ruptured. The kill team was thrown apart. Half the ship vented atmosphere into the void. From the bridge, I watched our reactor flame like a dying star. "Bridge to kill team! Status report!" Only static answered, then a single voice. "Corvin. Still alive. It's wounded. Hunting it now." Then silence again. Captain Luthien turned toward me. "Get me a Vox link to the Umbra Vindicta. Tell them the Raptor is real." The void outside shimmered faintly, as if something in the warp had taken notice. I felt the eyes of the unseen upon us. And somewhere deep in the ship, the sound of beating wings resumed, slow, deliberate, closer than before. The ship bled light. Fire guttered through the corridors of the Gloria Tenebris, licking at cracked plasteel and the mangled remains of those who had dared to face the Raptor. Every deck reverberated with the low hum of emergency klaxons, their rhythm a mechanical heartbeat echoing the sound of wings. I tried to maintain the Vox link with Sergeant Corvin, but interference grew worse with every minute. Even the Magos's incantations could not stabilize the signal. The warp itself seemed to pulse through the circuits like poison. "Corvin, this is Lieutenant Hastian. Respond!" I called again and again. At last, his voice returned, fragmented, strained. "Reactor levels unstable. Pursuing target to lower centum. It's not just flesh, it's feeding on memory. Don't—" The channel died in static. Captain Luthien gritted his teeth, eyes flicking across the hololith display. "If that thing reaches the reactor core, we're finished." He turned to the Magos. "Can we vent those levels?" "Negative," Virel rasped, his Vox grill sputtering. "My system integrity lost. My calculations indicate that creature has merged with the machine spirit of the Tenebris. It is the Tenebris now." The priest fell to his knees, clutching the aquila to his chest. "Emperor, deliver us from such abomination." I could feel it too, a presence, vast and hateful, moving through the ship's metal bones. Every lumen flickered in rhythm with its heartbeat. Corvin's kill team was scattered, 2 confirmed dead, 1 unresponsive. Corvin and the apothecary still moving toward the reactor sanctum, tracking the creature's spore. The feed from their helm cams was grainy, distorted by warp feedback, but it was enough to see the Raptor's lair. It had chosen the shrine deck, a place once consecrated to the Emperor, now twisted by living cables and molten sigils. The shrine's golden aquila had been torn down and replaced by something else, a grotesque sculpture of wings made from fused armor plates and human bone. Through the vox, I could hear the apothecary breathing heavily. "This is desecration beyond words." Corvin's voice remained steady. "No, this is penance." He stepped forward, chainsword in hand, and raised his bolter. The auspex pinged faintly. Then, from the shadows of the shrine, the Raptor stepped forth. It was worse now. The wound Corvin had given it had healed with living metal. Its wings shimmered like oil in a void storm. Its armor bore dozens of purity seals, his own squad seals, torn from the dead and fused into its flesh. "Corvin," it rasped, voice layered with static and anguish. "You left me to die on Varus 9. You left me in the dark. Do you remember how long I screamed before they came?" Corvin did not answer. His silence spoke for him. "I saw the hive tear the sky apart. I prayed, I obeyed, and when the swarm took me, when the warp claimed me, I remembered you, my brother." It stopped an arm's length away, head tilting as if curious. "Tell me, brother, when you whisper the Emperor's name, does he whisper back?" Corvin fired, point blank. The bolter rounds exploded across the Raptor's chest, tearing through mutated ceramite. But the thing laughed, a hollow metallic shriek that made the shrine walls shake. It lunged, claws like razors. Corvin's armor screeched under the impact. The apothecary charged in, roaring a battle hymn. His narcissium drill ignited, plunging into the creature's side. Black ichor sprayed the walls. The Raptor screamed and backhanded him across the deck, shattering his helm. Corvin drove his chainsword deep into the monster's abdomen. "You are no brother of mine." For a moment, the Raptor faltered, its expression almost human, pain flickering in its corrupted eyes. Then it whispered, "No, I am what you could not be. I am the shadow that endures." It tore the chainsword from its body and impaled Corvin through the shoulder with its talons. The apothecary crawled forward, broken, blood streaming from his mouth. He triggered his flamer. The shrine burned. Promethium engulfed the creature's wings, setting the air ablaze. It screamed, the sound a mix of agony and rage, and burst through the deck plating, vanishing into the depths below, into the heart of the reactor. Corvin fell to one knee, armor melting. He activated his vox again, voice weak but defiant. "This is Corvin. Target descending into the core. I'm going after it. Seal the decks above. Do not follow." "Sergeant!" I shouted. "You won't survive the radiation down there." "Doesn't matter. If it merges with the ship's spirit, it will spread to every system. It will make the void scream. Tell my chapter. Tell them I stood my ground." The vox cut. Captain Luthien looked at me, his expression hollow. "If he fails..." I didn't let him finish. "Then we all burn." The Magos began reciting the litany of shutdown, his voice a mechanical chant. "Omnisius, grant peace to this machine spirit and mercy to those who serve it." As the decks sealed, the ship trembled. The temperature rose. From somewhere below came the distant sound of a single bolt gun firing. Once, twice. Then silence. In that silence, I heard wings again. Comment your theories below. What corruption stalks our heroes? Next, the final reckoning aboard the burning vessel.
The ship was dying. Bulkhead screamed as the warped bent corruption of the Raptor spread through the Gloria Tenebris. Lumens burst like dying stars, and the air filled with the bitter tang of ozone and burning flesh. Decks warped and groaned as though the machine spirit itself was trying to escape its own body. We were running out of time. Captain Luthien stood at the command lectern, one arm wrapped in blood-soaked bandages, his eyes fixed on the hololith. The image showed the ship's reactor, once stable, now pulsing like a beating heart. The Magos's voice crackled over the vox, words tumbling out in binary cant. Containment field collapsing, radiation surge approaching catastrophic levels, machine spirit screaming. And below it all, deep beneath the steel and fire, Sergeant Corvin's life signal flickered weakly. "He's still down there," I said. "He hasn't failed yet." Luthien's jaw tightened. "Then Emperor help us all, because he's our only chance." Down in the core, the world was a nightmare. Corvin's armor readings were unstable. Radiation overload, heat spikes beyond survivability. Yet he pressed on, his footsteps echoing through the reactor sanctum like a heartbeat against eternity. Through the corrupted vox feed, I caught fragments of his final moments. "It's waiting for me. The reactor hums with its voice, every pulse its heartbeat. Arcturus, listen to me. You can still—" "No, there's nothing left to save." The feed shuddered as the reactor chamber cameras came online. Through static and distortion, we saw them. Two shapes moving in the glare of burning plasma. Corvin, armor blackened and half-melted, the Raptor, monstrous and magnificent, its wings smoldering yet still spreading wide. Its talons dragged sparks from the floor as it advanced. "Brother," the creature rasped, its voice now softer, almost human. "Do you understand now? This is what we were meant to be, unbound, eternal, beyond the weakness of flesh and faith." Corvin raised his bolter, though it trembled in his gauntlet. "We were meant to serve, not to rule." "Serve?" the Raptor laughed, a broken sound that echoed through the ship. "The Emperor doesn't even remember us. We were shadows, tools, forgotten before the ink dried on our service rolls." "I just wanted to be remembered." Corvin charged. The two collided in a thunder of ceramite and rage. The Raptor's claws sheared through armor. Corvin's chainsword bit into living metal. Sparks rained like meteors. They fought with the fury of gods and the despair of brothers. "You left me to die," the Raptor screamed. "You were already dead." The chamber cracked as their struggle shattered coolant lines and ruptured conduits. The plasma core flared bright as a miniature sun. Even through the pict feed, the light burned my eyes. Then, silence. The Raptor staggered back, Corvin's chainsword buried in his chest. It looked down at the wound, then back at him. "You cannot kill what is already eternal," it whispered. Corvin's gauntlet moved to his belt, a single cracked grenade, its red rune blinking.
"Maybe not," he said quietly, "but I can make sure you burn with me." He triggered the charge. The explosion tore through the core. The feed went white, and for a heartbeat I thought the Emperor himself had opened his eyes upon us. Then came the sound, a single, thunderous detonation that shook the ship apart. On the bridge, alarms howled. The Mago screamed in binary as his cogitators overloaded. Captain Luthien grabbed the command lectern. "Reactor breach in progress. All hands, brace for warp backlash." The void outside the viewports rippled like water. The warp bled through, showing glimpses of impossible things, wings that stretched across stars, eyes opening in the dark between them. And then, silence. Just before the ship tore itself apart, a final transmission came through. "For the Emperor." Corvin's voice, clear, steady, human. And then the Gloria Tenebris vanished in a bloom of light brighter than any dawn mankind would ever see again. When rescue vessels arrived months later, they found only debris, shards of twisted metal drifting in orbit above Varus 9. The Vox recorders were corrupted beyond repair, but one file remained intact, hidden deep within the Mechanicus archives. A single audio log, labeled Raptor Null. It contained nothing but faint breathing and the sound of beating wings. In the grim darkness of the far future, memory is as fragile as flesh. The Raptor's name was never spoken again, struck from Ravengard records by order of the chapter master himself. Official reports marked the Gloria Tenebris as lost to warp instability. But those who served on the fringes of Segmentum Ultima whisper differently. They speak of shadowed figures seen along the edges of Auspex scans, wings unfurling briefly before vanishing into the dark. Some say it's just echo data. Others swear it's the Raptor, still hunting, drawn to those who abandoned their brothers. Perhaps it is vengeance. Perhaps it is simply the echo of a sin too deep to die. All I know is this: when the void grows silent, when the stars seem to dim for just a moment, I still hear it, the faint, rhythmic sound of wings. The Emperor protects. More stories await.